worst of the week, right? Is that
Worst of the week. Yeah, I already played the intro for some reason, but worst of the week this week. Everybody read that article, I hope, on NPR, or at least saw the backlash.
Wrestling with my husband's fear of getting COVID again. She's the COVID wife. The general gist, for those who didn't read it, are pretty much summed up in this paragraph. While the rest of the world seems to have moved on from the pandemic, in our house, it's still 2020. We wear masks when we go into public indoor spaces. We don't eat inside restaurants. We don't go to movies. We have people take COVID tests before they enter our house. All this leaves me feeling torn between two emotions. I want to keep my husband safe and healthy, but I also want our old life back. It feels selfish and trivial to say that amid my husband's plight. He is terrified that if he gets COVID again, it will be as harrowing as the first time, and it could trigger a flare-up of his chronic illness. She just wants to go back to normal, back to brunch, eat inside, enjoy her life again.
Right. And the asterisk on this whole story is that this was released on his birthday. Probably a publisher decision, but nonetheless, how disgusting to put this out into the world. Like, if this was an article where it was framed around her struggles and how much she loves him, but, she struggles, but she's more or less blaming him for being in this situation, and then he's not. Is he going to be serious about COVID his whole life, or is he just going to take the risk and make some compromises so maybe he dies younger, but his wife is happy?
The whole thing of going back to normal is such a funny way to frame it, which of course is the way all COVID minimizers frame it, because go back to normal. What does that mean? Going to work, going to brunch, going inside to eat dinner, going to movies. But it acts like if you do all those things and you just decide you want it to be 2019 again, you're not risking COVID. It's just because you pretend it goes away doesn't mean that it's not still circulating, right? 1,658 deaths this week. We have not been below, I think 1,200 for at least 5 months.
And that's deaths. And don't forget that Fauci said he thought COVID would be, we could sort of get past COVID when it was down to like 4,000 cases.
Yeah, I think he said under 10,000 a week. Cases.
Yeah, cases.
We're looking at million right now.
Right. Yeah. And here's what she's asking her husband to do. The risk of your infection is just amplified astronomically if you go out without a mask.
Yeah. It's insanity also because I just don't understand. First of all, testing is so easy. What's the problem with that? I do not understand. I also am furious and don't understand why we don't have better tests. In other countries, they have tests that test RSV, flu, and COVID all in one test for about $1. And here we have outdated tests that barely can register if you have COVID, and they're $15 a piece if you're lucky enough to find them. So
yeah, but this back to capitalism with it. That's what's kind of depressing. Like, on one hand, you see everybody waking up in the world because of Palestine,
right?
But all these people are still asleep on COVID, and we haven't connected the dots to that, which is the biggest workers' right issue of our lifetime. And if let's say you can't mask forever, okay, well, you clean the fucking air. You can put in air filtration systems that don't cost a lot of money relative to saving lives.
Yeah, there are practical solutions. The way we clean the water. Now we don't, of course, in our country we just poison people. But like for a while we were filtering water. You can clean the air, right? And people really could know, like, hey, it's not safe for me to go out right now. But of course, that involves having a government that gives you unlimited paid sick leave, insists or makes it the rule that you have unlimited paid sick leave, that OSHA standards are kept up to help protect you from an airborne disease, right? There are all of these things that we have just completely left behind.
The good news is that COVID is no longer a bio level 3 hazard. It's now biosafety level 2. Why?
HIV and salmonella. Like, funny that salmonella is where HIV is, but like, okay, so
right. So on one end, it's just AIDS. It's just airborne AIDS.
It's airborne AIDS.
And they know that another study came out showing that even mild COVID can lead to the equivalent of 7 years of brain aging.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that this Lewy bodies in brains, they found Lewy bodies in brains of all rhesus macaque. I don't know how you say that. Macaques. So for me, this is probably there. Yeah. Okay. Most disturbing COVID paper out there. This was after one infection. They found Lewy bodies in all of their brains. So even if it's only half true for humans, what does that mean? So this is Lewy bodies. Dementia with Lewy bodies, also known as Lewy body dementia, is one of the most, here come the readers, common types of dementia. Dementia is the name for problems with mental abilities caused by gradual changes and damage in the brain. It's rare in people under 65. Symptoms with dementia with Lewy bodies. People with dementia with Lewy bodies may have hallucinations, hear voices, similar to Alzheimer's, confusion, sleepiness, tremors, disturbed sleep, fainting spells, depression. I mean, it is affecting all of our organs. It is absolutely affecting our brains. And the fact that WHO just downgraded it, again, just illustrates the point that Jerry and Joe were making, which is it's an international.
Capitalism is making every decision.
Yeah.
They're making the climate decisions. They're making the health decisions. Cancer rate's going to go through the roof. We know that's going to happen. What was that line that went around for a while? After 10 infections, all the monkeys were dead. Yeah. Something like that.
Yep.
We don't know what 10 COVID infections does to somebody, because most people are not clearing it out of your body. No. In a few months. They find it in
your cells for people who have been infected, they still find it in your cells months and months later.
Right. So we just simply don't know, but we know enough to want to protect you now just from the known risks.
Yep.
And we're doing nothing. So that should wake people up if the public was actually informed enough about this, but they are massively underinformed, and misinformation is rampant. New study came out. Another study came out, but this one should finalize it. Large randomized trial on ivermectin. It showed no benefit. This is why you should listen to scientists and not just random people on the internet, random
podcasters paid by Peter Thiel.
What's the line about jackass comedian or something? Mr. Jimmy Dore. Yeah, don't listen to jackass comedians. Do your own research. But your own research doesn't mean you look up comedians who are talking about COVID. Look up the scientists.
The actual science, yeah. The conflation, yeah, I know. Everybody that I listen to has colds and sniffles, and posting pictures of themselves indoor with no masks is insanity. The conflation of how the working class was hurt with not trusting government, who did not do enough to help our working class at all, never does, and didn't, especially during, our pretend lockdowns. But that doesn't mean don't trust the science. Don't trust the government, but the government's the one that's also minimizing COVID right now. So I don't even, there's no rational lane for these people.
What these people need to understand is not believing the scientists themselves is like being a flat earther.
Right. Because
you're saying all the scientists in the world who are studying COVID are in on some conspiracy. Just like all the scientists in the world there was no moon landing, there was no, the Earth isn't round, they all have to be on it for COVID not to be real. And the scientists have been raising the alarm bells forever about all this stuff.
Yeah, so that is where, these people who say they're for the working class, actually, I almost never hear people talk about the working class that way anymore. It's really sad. It's all everybody's just kind of mask off, both literally and figuratively. There isn't really, it's now funneled just towards anti whichever war you don't want right now.
Sorry, mask off, you're mentioning?
I know that was at the State of the Union.
I hate to hit Bernie on this, but like Bernie went around in the first half, the whole most dangerous part of it, the meet and greet where you're all up in each other's faces without a mask on, and then sits down and wears a surgical mask. And this is the guy who acted like he was woken up by his little long COVID. He brought some daylight to the attention of long COVID with the Senate hearing, but he's also been silent on the 1 day go back to work guidelines from the CDC. Like 1 day without a fever, you go back to work. Like this is all anti-science. He's the top politician when it comes to this issue. The number one guy is the Senate chair on health and whatever. Silent on it, wearing a surgical mask, not wearing a mask most of the time. It's just the most disappointment I've had in my life in one single politician, for sure.
It really is devastating,
Obama,
honestly.
close second.
Yeah, I mean, Obama, although like the first year of 2020, right after Bernie dropped out, I actually had nightmares about Obama. I was so furious. And now I feel like I don't even know what would be all that much different if Bernie were in charge, even though there's a part of me that still loves him, but boy, he's failed on so many levels. All right. What do you think? Are we, should we move on? Do we have more stuff to talk about?
Yeah, let's move on. There's not that much new on COVID. I do want to just give a shout out to fucking around and finding out. Anytime fucking around and finding out gets a win.
Here's to that, yeah.
I'm happy about it. Martin, whoever, we don't have his whole name, who cares? He got fired from Harvard. He's a COVID minimizer, bullshit artist, and he's gone.
Back to work, brownstone guy.
So I'm all for that.
Vinay Prasad. They gotta start working on Stanford because they have a couple of horrific people over at Stanford. Isn't that where Vinay is and Monica Gandhi, I think, and one other one? They're just,
sure.
I mean, yeah. It really does show you like no difference between the two capitalist parties when it comes to this. One just is able to finesse it more with corporate media and get them to help him manufacture his mission accomplished moment.
And honestly, Trump's Surgeon General is out there in the public being more honest about COVID right now than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, that is amazing. It is truly amazing.
And worst of the week is the COVID lady, because come on, show your husband a little bit of compassion and don't they spread this piece now because they time this stuff. They want to put this PR piece out to say, oh, isn't it so hard on the people who live with COVID? They should all just, it's framing it as like these people are a little wacky. They need a little health check. When are they going to get back to their normal lives? What are they going to return to?
Yeah, that's the other thing she says. Maybe I should just write a letter. I love you more than anything. I want our family to do normal things, and I'm worried about you, worried that your life has become so much about avoiding COVID. Is this the life you want? Do you see an end to this? Like, we don't get to say when COVID is over. You can say it, but anyway, gross, selfish, not an ally.
Disgusting. All right, let's